Prologue, Shadows of the Deep. Metropolis X breathed easy, but Arthur knew it was an illusion. On a stormy night, as the Styx's waves lashed against the Stilt House's new dock, Sebastian's shadow emerged from the depths. His voice, mingling with the water's hiss, whispered, "Utulon does not sleep, keeper. And I have found a new master." Arthur's Trident of Tides trembled in his grip, unease burning in his chest. Nerthus, now a pup with amber gills, growled at the darkness. The wind carried the stench of rotting kelp and iron. Chapter 1, The Crimson Tide. A new enemy rises, the cult of the Crimson Tide, fanatics worshipping Thalassa, a deity of the depths older than Lyrann or Utulon. Their temple, the Sunken City of Nihrym, where streets coil like whale guts and statues have eyes of pearls stolen from drowned kings. Arthur and Evangeline infiltrate a secret ritual. In the catacombs, they find the Tide Codex, a manuscript inked in sacrificial blood, revealing Sebastian's pact with Thalassa to shatter Utulon's chains. "This isn't about controlling water," Evangeline mutters, "it's about becoming it." Chapter 2, Song of the Lost. Myriele vanishes. Arthur tracks her to the forest of glass mists, where trees are made of ice and roots drink seawater. He encounters Kovira, a priestess of Thalassa with a body armored in crab shells. "Your friend belongs to us now," she says, pointing to a lake where Myriele dances in a trance, her eels entwined with bioluminescent coral. Nerthus, now grown, attacks Kovira, but her carapace is unbreakable. Arthur uses the dagger of dew to sever the trance's bonds, but Myriele screams, "You don't understand. Thalassa, she offered me oblivion." Chapter 3, Prisoner of Two Depths. In the Tomb of Lyrann, Arthur discovers a sealed chamber. Inside, Utulon, now a spectral ally, trapped in a crystal coffin. His voice booms, "Thalassa seeks to devour us all. Free me, and I will help you destroy her heart." Evangeline protests, "This is a trap." But Arthur, desperate, breaks the seal. Utulon floods his mind with visions, Sebastian in the Bay of Bones, where Thalassa forges a body from sea creatures and sunken warships. Chapter 4, Dance of the Jellyfish. The assault on Thalassa's floating fortress, a colossal jellyfish with iron-forged tentacles. Arthur leads a fleet of disguised smuggler ships, Boss's crew. The battle is chaos. Evangeline hurls quicksilver grenades that paralyze tentacles. Utulon, now a spirit within Arthur, summons water golems of foam and shell. Sebastian appears astride Leviathan Thalassa, his skin studded with black pearls. In the climax, Arthur drives the trident into Thalassa's eye, but the beast drags him into its gullet. Chapter 5, Heart of the Abyss. In Thalassa's belly, Arthur confronts the spirits of all he's drowned, Cedric, his father, even his mother. "Stay with us," they plead. Lyrann speaks through the trident, "You will pay a price to save others." As always, Arthur sacrifices Nerthus's memory, the hound vanishes, taking his last shred of innocence with him. Thalassa explodes, her tidal wave erasing the Bay of Bones. Chapter 6, The Wake of the Drowned. Arthur awoke, gasping for air, his body tangled in seaweed and shattered coral. The Bay of Bones was unrecognizable, its shores littered with the remains of Thalassa's monstrous body, her iron tentacles rusting in the surf. The sea was eerily silent. Evangeline found him first, dragging his half-conscious form onto the deck of the Stormcaller. "You did it," she whispered, but her voice held no joy. The cost had been too great. Utulon, now bound fully within Arthur's spirit, whispered in his mind. "Thalassa is gone, but the sea does not forget. Neither do the drowned." As the survivors gathered, a new horror revealed itself. The waters churned, revealing countless faces beneath the waves, spectral, silent, watching. The souls of those lost to the Crimson Tide had not passed on. They lingered, caught between life and death, bound by the echoes of Thalassa's shattered will. And then, a single voice rose from the depths. "You took her throne, Arthur. You are the keeper now." Chapter 7, The Salt Crown. The survivors made for the Isle of Mourning, a sanctuary for those who had suffered the sea's wrath. But Arthur's dreams were haunted, visions of a throne of coral and bone, whispers of an unseen force stirring in the abyss. At night, the water called to him. Kovira returned, this time alone. Her armor was cracked, her shell-weave robes torn. "You think you won?" she spat. Thalassa was only the beginning. The abyss does not tolerate a void. She revealed the truth: the salt crown, an artifact older than any known god, was awakening. It had been buried beneath the sunken city of Nihrym, kept dormant by Thalassa's rule. With her gone, something else was rising. Arthur clenched his fists. "Then we go to Nihrym." Evangeline hesitated. "Last time we were there, we barely escaped." Arthur's gaze darkened. "This time, we don't run." Chapter 8, The Sunken Throne. Nihrym was worse than before. The city, already a labyrinth of drowned horrors, had transformed. The streets had twisted further, the statues of old kings weeping black water. The deeper they went, the more Arthur felt it, the pull of the salt crown. At the city's heart, they found it, a monolithic throne of salt and coral, pulsing with ancient power. And sitting upon it, Sebastian. His body was changed, encrusted with barnacles, his skin glistening with seawater. The pearls embedded in his flesh gleamed with an unnatural light. "I was a servant before," he said, his voice distorted. "Now, I am the sea itself." Sebastian had bound himself to the crown, becoming its new master. And he was not alone. The drowned souls of Nihrym rose behind him, their empty eyes fixed on Arthur. The battle was unlike any before. The crown's power surged through Sebastian, turning the water into living weapons. Arthur and Evangeline fought desperately, but the city itself fought against them. And then, the salt crown spoke. "Only one may rule the deep." Arthur understood. There was no defeating Sebastian in battle. He had to take the crown's power for himself. Chapter 9, The Last Bargain. Utulon warned him. "You cannot wear the crown without becoming something else. You will no longer be Arthur." But there was no choice. Arthur seized the salt crown. Pain lanced through him as the sea itself tried to claim him. He felt his body dissolving, his thoughts scattering like foam on the tide. And then, Evangeline. Her hands on his face, her voice pulling him back. "Don't you dare leave me." With a final, desperate act of will, Arthur did not submit to the crown. He commanded it. The drowned souls screamed as their chains shattered. Nihrym crumbled as the sea rejected its own curse. Sebastian shrieked as his stolen power was torn from him. He fell into the abyss, his body dissolving into the tides. And the crown? Arthur crushed it in his hands. Chapter 10, Keeper of the Deep. They barely escaped as Nihrym collapsed into the abyss, swallowed by the very waters that had birthed it. Arthur stood on the deck of the Stormcaller, staring into the horizon. The sea was at peace, but not silent. Utulon's voice was gone. The presence that had haunted Arthur for so long had finally faded. Evangeline stood beside him. "It's over." Arthur exhaled, but he knew the truth. It was never truly over. The ocean had chosen him now. The salt crown was gone, but something lingered within him, a connection to the deep that would never break. "The sea doesn't need a ruler," he said. "It needs a keeper." Evangeline smiled, though her eyes were sad. "And what do you need?" Arthur turned away from the water. "A place to start over." Epilogue, The Tides remember. Years passed. Legends grew. The cult of the Crimson Tide was gone, but the sea never forgot its secrets. Sailors spoke of a ghostly ship that appeared in storms, guiding lost souls to safety. They whispered of a figure standing at the bow, clad in seafoam and shadow, his eyes glowing like the deep. Some called him a curse. Others, a savior. But those who truly knew the ocean understood. Arthur was still out there. The keeper of the deep,